the majority of people's work is better than mine, but that shouldn't negate my work, right? Because it's my work and nobody else can do this the way that I do.
A lot of times you have these struggles that are the same and you don't think that we're all feeling it, but we are.
And to feel like you're not alone really is pretty empowering, because it's like, oh, okay, if that person did that, got through the other side of that, I think I can do it too. On episode 328 of the podcast, we talk about paralysis by analysis. You're not alone, my friend. We also talk about whether or not you should hire a brand designer. This reminds me of when I first started my business and how everything changed. You're going to want to hear this. And then we also talk about the power of a mastermind. What's up, friend? I am Ryan Coral from Studio Sherpas, and this is the Grow Your Video Business podcast. This is a show for corporate and commercial filmmakers that are really wanting to take their business seriously, that are interested in growing their profits and building something that is sustainable, something that they can do for a long time. Because let's be honest, if you're listening to the show, you're probably like me. You started filmmaking and you were like, how do I do this like all the time? And the best way to do that is not just to create amazing work. That is very helpful, but for a lot of us, we need business practices that are not slimy, sleazy, things that add value to the world in a way to run our businesses in a way that is helpful and is a service to other people, to where they see like, wow, not only do you have great work, but you seem like you're an incredible person that can actually help solve some of my business problems. If that sounds like you, I'm so glad that you're here, because that's the kind of stuff that we talk about, how to increase sales. What kind of marketing should you be doing? What kind of processes should you add into your business? I've been doing this work for 18 years, and I have learned a lot of ways to do things the wrong way. But I also, as I've built a studio that at one point reached 6 figures in revenue, and then at another point has reached 7 figures. So I've figured some things out that I want to share with you. That's why I bring on amazing guests to share their stories. I share my story. I'm so glad that you're here. If you are struggling to earn $100,000 or more in your video business, I have something brand spanking new that I want to share with you to help you. I am hosting a live paid workshop called Profit Accelerator, which is designed to help you skyrocket your profit. That's so cheesy. But seriously, this live workshop, so on the show, if you've been around for a while, you know that I give away like all sorts of free stuff. We've got free workshops and just all the things. This one is not free. So I've upped the ante here. So if you're checking out, just hit the fast forward button and skip to the podcast itself. But in this live workshop, if your ears are tingling and you're like, tell me more about Profit Accelerator. Maybe I need to change the name. We're going to dive into some seriously helpful, game-changing tips, things that I do in my business and things that other students of mine, people that I coach in this Studio Sherpas Grow Your Video Business world, things that we're doing that are working, like charging confidently for pre-production. If you're not charging for pre-production, and if you're not doing it very confidently, you're probably not charging as much as you should. I'm going to dive into how you can do this and do it well so that you're not leaving money on the table. We're also going to cover maximizing your margins to make sure that your business thrives. We're going to dive into some nerdy spreadsheet numbers and stuff like that, and I'm going to help you uncover some areas in your business that you're not making money that you can be and that you should be making money. We're going to go over the center stage effect, and I'm going to show you how you can boost sales with tiered offerings. We've got some psychology up my sleeves. Yeah, it's going to be deep. And then the creme de la creme, that's the really good stuff, I think. I'm going to show you how monetizing your expertise by offering paid workshops to help your clients will lead to happier clients. It'll lead to more profits and better paying jobs. Now remember, the Profit Accelerator, I cannot say that. Profit Accelerator Workshop. It's a paid workshop. You can learn more about it. It is a super affordable price. If you go to studiosherpas.com/profit, you can read all about it. You can sign up for it, but do it fast because it's going to be live, and I want you to catch the live version of it. But I'm confident that you're going to walk away with actionable things that you can apply immediately in your business so that you can keep more of the money that you make and you can build the business of your dreams. Get access to the Profit Accelerator Workshop. Learn more about it. Go to studiosherpas.com/profit, and I'll see you there. Okay, are you ready for this episode? So excited to introduce and interview a fellow filmmaker. And without me doing that here, let's just do that in the episode. So let's roll the tape, and here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of the show. Today, I've got Caitlin Wall with us on the show, and she is the owner of Caitlin Wall Photography and Films, based out of New Boston, New Hampshire, which specializes in website and social media video content for local artists and creators, as well as national brands. Caitlin, I'm so happy you're here on the show with me today.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm super excited to be here. Honestly, I'm honored to be here. So I'm excited to share my story and just chat.
Love it. So we were introduced through Maxwell Bentley. How do you know Maxwell?
Yes. Shout out to Maxwell. I was going to do that anyway. He basically was super welcoming when I joined the Facebook group. And I think I had posted a question in there, and he responded and offered to do a video chat. So we just kind of hopped on a call and got to know each other a little bit. And then he recommended me on a Facebook post where you were looking for women videographers. So yeah, thank you, Maxwell. Super appreciative and excited to be here.
Yeah, he's so great too. He's such a great participant in the group, sharing his own wins, but also his own losses. And I just love that about him because I'm like, oh yeah, okay, we're not all winning here, and that's fine and that's good. And but he's such a great dude. He came to our in-person event the very first time, very first Onward Summit, and he made it into the promo video. He was so fun. He was just so that's great. Awesome. Yeah. Well, so tell me a little bit about your business. How did you? I think you started out as a photographer and then transitioned into video. What's your journey look like? Who are you serving today? Like, what kind of work are you specializing in today?
Yeah. So I feel like there's more of us photographers turned videographers now, but basically, I've had kind of a long path to get where I am now. In college, I couldn't figure out my major. I was doing, I think I picked my major like my final major beginning of junior year in college, which is super late.
Okay.
But anyway, that ended up being computer art, which was actually 3D animation. Super interesting.
Ooh,
but I was horrible at it. Yeah. So that didn't last.
Tough, yeah.
Yeah, it's really impressive if you're really good at it. But I was not, and I did some photography classes just as electives. And then I did a summer abroad in Florence, before my senior year, which was amazing. And I bought my first camera before that. So, it was like a Nikon D60, good for the time. That was my first camera. And I took a digital photography class in Florence and just went out and basically just did my own thing and captured a bunch. And so that was my first into photography. And I'll spare the details on all. I kind of went back and forth on I did it after college for a time for work. And then I kind of took a break from it. It was stressful. I was in weddings and I just didn't love it. So I stopped, and I still did it for fun and volunteer. And then back in 2018, I had a friend who asked me to do another wedding, of course. And so I did that, and I actually realized I really missed it. I was like, this is super fun. Got back into it, just photography, and then was in it doing portraits mainly for 2 years. And then in 2020, pre-pandemic, so it wasn't like a pandemic shift thing, but a couple years before in January, I was on a retreat with my church. I was volunteering because my husband's a youth pastor. So we were like with the middle schoolers on this retreat, and they had asked me to record announcements for our Sunday service just to make it fun. Like, oh, hey, we're out here with the kids, and have a video from that. So but I didn't know, so I had the better camera, which is why they asked. But I had no idea how to even record the video. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it, but how do you even do it? So someone showed me, tried it out, literally fell in love with it. I was like, this is amazing. I think I never felt like I would like video because it seems so different. But once I like took that one shot, I was like, this is super cool because it's photography, but then you add in, it feels like you add in life, like it's motion.
Right.
And,
that's it. The same word as you were getting ready to describe that. I'm like, the word is life. You're adding in life to this image. Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, and I felt like so many principles of photography did carry over still, the lighting, the composition, finding the right expression of emotion. And so it wasn't as hard of a switch as I kind of thought it would be. And so that basically that weekend, then I just brought my camera around and I was like, forget the photos, I'm just going to do video. And I have to say I did make a pretty decent video for my first weekend at it, but it was just interesting. I had no idea how to do the focus. I was like, do you autofocus? Do you do manual? I was trying to like Google it, like what's the standard? How do you do this? And anyway, it was just fun to experiment. And so basically I just kind of didn't look back. I still do photography a little bit, but mainly my clients now are for video, and I'm working with a lot of businesses, which has been a good shift. So yeah, I kind of self-taught a little bit after that weekend, and I did some online courses, and now I'm here, and it's amazing. I love it.
I love it. That's cool. Yeah, I feel like there are so many photographers that kind of come over into this world because you go from, like creating beautiful stills to creating life. Right. Yeah. But honestly, I always laugh because, all these years in business, I'm like, man, it's way smarter to stay a photographer if you're looking to build a profitable business. It's like so much less gear. It's just so much easier. And I know some photographers are listening, like rolling their eyes like, oh yeah, right. Whatever, Ryan. Well, it's definitely like so much less gear, right? I mean, I remember in our heydays for weddings, we would bring our gear, we'd stack it up in the back of the church, and it just would be everything. And then you have these, even like a husband and wife photography team, and they come in, they've got like maybe a camera on their hip and one in their hands, and like maybe a lens bag. I'm like, are you guys serious? Like that? You should be ashamed of it. That's embarrassing. Anyway, I digress. But welcome to this side of the world.
It's true though. I think sometimes like I don't regret the switch, and I absolutely love it. But sometimes I look at like my photographer friends, because I have a couple that I'll shoot alongside with, and I'm a little envious. I'm like, man, like the editing for that, not even just the shooting, but the editing. It's just all these other layers, and I'm like, trying to keep pace with them on when they deliver things, but I'm like a little jealous right now.
Yep. Well, what is the bulk of your work these days? What are you focused on? What kind of stuff are you doing?
So I work with a good number of local artists, which I love. So because you already have like what I feel like what I'm making is beautiful, and if I'm shooting something that's already inherently beautiful, like an artist making their art, I love the combination of that. So I work with a decent number of those, and then just other businesses. So I would say on the artist side, like last year, I worked with a friend of mine who does pottery. That was one of my favorites. Another one who's a woodworker, and she has a wellness line of products, and that was super fun. And then on the other side, I've got like a realtor team I work with regularly. They're a luxury realtor team in Boston, and a couple other clients related to them and their circles. And and now, so just all different types of businesses. I am trying to sort of narrow my focus on which clients I love to work with best. But mainly website banners and social media videos for all different types of businesses.
You said something interesting, and I feel like not even just on the show, but I coach a lot of filmmakers and in a lot of circles with filmmakers, and a lot of people say that like, I'm trying to figure out my niche. I'm, trying to narrow in on like who that is. And I'm wondering, just from your perspective, like what is the process that you're going through to figure that out? And like, do you have a time frame of like, hey, I want to figure that out, this year, and this is what it means to have that figured out? Like, what is that, when I say any of those things, what does that bring up for you?
There's the debate, most people say it's better to narrow your focus so you look like the expert, at that sort of work.
Yeah.
But it is really hard to do. And some things feel like they don't fit, like so on my website, if you go there, it's mainly focused on a more artistic vibe. And I mentioned that in my wording, but I also love to work with product-based brands. So it's like, where do those two fit together? I don't know if they do, but I love those two areas. So they're both mentioned on my site, but yeah, I don't know. I've tried to be a little bit better about what I'm posting. I know that's something that I've been told as well. You want to post what you like to do. You'll probably attract more people that way in the area you're trying to focus on. So I'm just trying to monitor that, think, before I post something, is this something I want to do more work of? If not, maybe just kind of like, it's nice to show that you're active in doing work, but you might benefit better if you just put out there what you want to come back around to you. So I don't know if that answers. I'm trying to figure it out. I feel like most of my business is constantly evolving, and I just find out through experience. I do one thing and I'm like, I don't really like that, and then one box is checked off, but I'm constantly learning.
Yeah, I think that's part of the thing about this work is, as much as I encourage people, like, man, if you can choose a niche, it's going to make all of your decisions when it comes to marketing and social posting and creating a lead magnet in your website and all of that, all of your messaging can be in one voice with like one specific problem that you're trying to solve. It just makes everything so much simpler. But then you bring in the entrepreneur in us, the creative or the artistic in all of us. You add that to the equation, and it's like, man, but I love meeting new people. Like, that's part of it, and understanding their story. And so I feel like I would get bored if I only worked with realtors. I feel like I would get bored if I only worked with people that worked with their hands. Whatever that thing is. So yes, I totally get that. I understand that. And then there's the other part of like, well, I like these two different industries. So if I make my website specific to this one industry and I only am posting, like, will people in that other industry, will they find me and will they hire me if they come to my website and they don't see any of that work? And then that just kind of begs a whole other set of questions of like, well, do you think that those people, if they saw the different kind of work that you're doing, do you think that they would say like, oh, she wouldn't work with us? Or do you think they'd say like, man, we love that work so much. Maybe if she could do that for our industry, so it's just like a whole other line of thinking. But I think most of us are on this like ongoing journey of like, what do I like doing? What don't I like? Yeah. What's profitable? What's visually like stimulating? And I think you're nailing at least part of that on the head, where you say like, man, you love working with artists. It wasn't until just a few years ago that we realized anybody that works with their hands, like that stuff is like so cool, right? Whether it's like pottery or wood or flowers or cake or like whatever the thing is that they're an expert in. And it's like visually, man, it just makes it's so much easier to do that than like to go into an office and film cubicles and like people working at their desk. It's like, you can only make a keyboard typing shot look so sexy before it's just like, okay, I've seen that shot a bazillion times, but you see somebody crafting something or building something, that's like way more fun. It's way more easy and inspiring to think like, how can you shoot this in a new and creative way?
Yeah, exactly. For the record, someone did tell me that a reel I put up yesterday for a lawyer group was sexy. So there you go.
Wow.
I nailed it, but I agree.
Curious, like what made it sexy?
No, I would say it was a luxury lawyer group. So, the place that they do their their offices, they are a little sexy. They're kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, good job. Sounds like you highlighted it. Yeah. Well, what are you doing to get business? Like what would you say like has been like one of your more successful practices that you've done to land work?
So basically most of my work comes in through referral. So I suppose that means, like my clients are happy and are referring me to other people, which is great. So I've sort of been trying to monitor it better over the last year. I wouldn't say I'm the greatest with using data in my business to drive decisions, so I'm trying to be a little better. But that's one thing I've noticed is most of my work comes in from previous clients who've either someone else has seen my work on their page or their social media, or they've just told someone. And on the flip side, I would say where I really could grow is Google and SEO. That's kind of my next barrier I need to kind of get through in my business.
Interesting. You said that you're trying to be better with like figuring out the data so that you can make more informed decisions. What does that mean? Like when you say you're trying to be better, like what does better look like in that?
Just kind of, so in that way, tracking my leads better for clients. In the software I use, like there's a place for that, and sometimes I forget to fill it out. So when I look at a report at the end of the year, it's like, oh, these jobs are unknown. And I was looking at that recently. I'm like I really should be plugging in where I got this job from, and looking at that. So in that scenario, that's what I was kind of fixing. But I think it's an area to grow in general. I'm not data inclined, I would say, but I know it's really important. Yeah,
no, I mean, that's a good point too. And again, back to, for those of us who really have like this artistic side to us, unfortunately, a lot of times that means like data is it's not real sexy, speaking of.
Yeah.
But to your point though, being able to like get to the end of the quarter or the end of the year and say like, wow, like, 50% of our lead, we thought everybody was coming in as a referral, but like we're seeing they're coming in through here. Do you have a system like with your form that people fill out? Is there a spot on there that says, tell me how you heard about us?
Yeah, there is. But if they didn't, like say they came from Instagram directly and they didn't fill out a form on my website, and so I'm manually plugging them in as a client or a project, and I forget to put in that they came from Instagram, then that's kind of that scenario where I might lose it. But on my website, it does have a place for where did you hear about me? And so that's helpful. Although, and sometimes they'll say like, I can't think of right now, but like something that's not super helpful that you're like, okay, I still don't know where you heard,
for sure,
where you heard of me. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I Googled something. Oh, what'd you Google? It's like, videographer. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Like I probably didn't pop up on videographer page, but anyway, I think, if we can work smarter, not harder, knowing that the data, even if it's not for you, if you're like not the person that would analyze the data and make decisions based on the data, at some point for a lot of us, we're like, we don't want to be the only ones in our business. So we should, I think, hopefully be bringing somebody that's more analytical, and their questions they might ask are like, okay, so for the last like 2 years, where has most of your business come from? And to not have a good answer isn't helpful. The reason why it's helpful is so that you can make informed decisions. Like if this is working, we got to double down on this thing. So if most of our leads are coming in through Google or SEO, like, okay, shoot, like, and we've got one blog post that everybody's reading. Like, what if we wrote like another blog post, or what if we made a video that went along with that blog post, or what if we created a call to action on that blog post where they can download something and then we get their email? Like, holy cow, we could have a list of 500 people right now, all people that are like finding this website. So my suggestion for all of us, and my hand is raised because I'm in the same boat and have been in the same boat, where we've got it on our form. Hey, how did you hear about us? Some people answer it. A lot of people don't. Then what about like, what's another spot along the client journey where we could capture that? And the sooner, the earlier, the better, because they may forget, especially if it wasn't through a referral, right? If it wasn't from a friend, that's where it starts getting a little bit tricky, because maybe they were on Google, or maybe they were in their Facebook group and somebody recommended you or something like that.
Right.
But to have a question, we do a kickoff call every time a client books us. We set up a call immediately after. We're like, hey, congrats. We're super excited to work with you. We got the automatic email that came through from Dubsado. It said like, hey, your client, they signed the proposal. Great. So we set up this kickoff call where they're going to have the stakeholders on the phone call. We're going to have our production team on the call, and we're going to just get on the same page. We're going to go through the proposal, make sure there's no big questions, find out that production team has any questions, and we'll set up like any days that we're going to film, or when is the project going to be delivered. And then also, hey, just as I noticed here, we don't have this filled out. How did you guys hear about us?
Yeah.
So I'm making that note to myself. Like that's another good spot. That's really early on in the process. And we go through this. When we do a kickoff call, we do it a certain way. We do it the same way every single time. So having like one line say like, hey, can you just remind me again, like where did you guys hear about us? Might be a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just remembering what the one of the examples was. I think someone plugged in, my wife found you. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Well, but like, where did she find you?
Okay.
I don't know. But it is interesting. It's like, if you don't know that, it makes me think of if you like spending and budgets, for your own personal finance, you might think like, oh, I only spend this much money each month on like buying people gifts. You're like, I barely do. And then you like look at it and you're like, oh my goodness, I spent like 3 times that. But you have this like perception that's not accurate of what's actually going on, So it is super important.
I can't think of another spot, but just knowing that as you build out processes in your business, the more things that you can have that are automated, on booking, great, that's easy. I don't need to remember it later. But then kickoff call, and then maybe there's another spot that is like one final, like, hey, we didn't get it here. Or if you don't do kickoff calls, maybe there's another part in the process where you are able to bring that up. It's not awkward. It's just like, we want to know, because the data is so important. We do we call it Breakfast with Soul. I host a monthly breakfast at our studio, and this most recent one that I did, I rather than inviting, we have this big table and it can comfortably fit 8 people. A little uncomfortably, it could fit 12 people. It's like 3 people on each side, which is a little too. I'm fine with being that close, but then I'm trying to eat breakfast too, and so it's kind of like elbows. Anyway, this most recent one I did, I said, hey, I'm only allowing 4 people to sign up, and you have to bring a friend that I don't know. I've been doing this for so long, and it's so joyful for me because I just get to hang out with my friends and I get to introduce them to each other. And I was like, you know what? I love meeting new people, and this is a great way that I can grow my network if I'm like making people bring people to this breakfast. So I did this. We did it 2 weeks ago, and I think I had 8 guests, so there were 9 of us total. We got breakfast. We had it catered from this really cute little restaurant down the street. They came to the studio at 7 a.m. They dropped off the food. It was like $130. And today I got a phone call from a woman that I didn't know previous to the breakfast, who attended the breakfast. She was invited by one of the ladies that I knew. And she said, hey, I've got this idea for a project. Would love to hop on a call. I'm like, oh my gosh. So my point being, we get to the end of the year. If I could say, man, we spent, $130 each month for breakfast. So that's what, $1,500 for over the course of the year to get 8 people, coming through our studio once a month. $1,500, is that worth, like, if we got one job out of that, 12 hours, over the course of the year, $1,500, average job being like $24,000, like, probably. So that data, being able to look at that data and say, like, hey, we got a lead from the breakfast, like, holy cow, Ryan, why don't you do 2 breakfasts a month? What is there, can we do this more? Do you like doing this? Does it bring you life? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I would totally do 2 a month. And yes, then I can get more people in the studio. And the only thing I don't like about doing the breakfast is I don't get to drive my kids to school in the morning. So that's like,
oh yeah. Yep. Well, that's a great point. And I've noticed like the importance of networking in general in my business. Obviously, since I said my main way I'm getting clients is referrals, networking has been just super important. So I've been trying to pay more attention to that over the last year. Although even the connections that I have now were mainly from a networking group that I started going to a couple years ago. And now I have some super close friends from that, which is awesome because I don't feel alone in my business. That's another big benefit of that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, super important.
Which is really, I mean, one of my biggest heartbeats behind this whole community is doing this, and the countless amount of people telling me when they find the community, when they find the podcast, when they find the courses, when they see that we have a mastermind, they're like, I for the longest time, I felt like I was alone. And I wish I would have known about this group, 7 years ago when I started my business, or, 2 years ago, or whenever I started, because so many of the things that we struggle with are things that all of us have struggled with in some way, shape, or form. And to feel like you're not alone really is pretty empowering, because it's like, oh, okay, if that person did that, got to the other side of that, I think I can do it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's really helpful. I remember this one time I was talking to another photographer, and we were just kind of just like talking about how we're feeling in our business and some insecurities. And I remember telling her that it was just a moment of honesty. I was like, I was looking at this person's page the other day, and I started looking at their work, and I'm like, I'm sure we've all been here. I'm like, man, my work is awful. This is amazing. Like you just compare yourself, and all of a sudden your work is horrible and theirs is the best.
Right.
And I was like, I just was doing that yesterday. And then she's like, I was just on your page today, and I said, my work's horrible and yours is amazing. So it's just funny, but a lot of times you have just these struggles that are the same, and you don't think that we're all feeling it, but we are a lot of times. So yes, power of community.
Yeah, it is really powerful. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about this, but I know that the comparison thing, it's not good for anybody. And it's like we all have our own unique skill set and our own unique passion, and our drive is unique, and our perspective is unique. And so anytime that we have that sense, yes, there's plenty of people. I mean, so many, the majority of people's work is better than mine, but that shouldn't negate my work, right? Because it's my work, and nobody else can do this the way that I do. And yeah, I want to be better. I want to continue to grow in my craft. But the way that we've been imprinted and the giftings that we have should never be compared to anybody else, no matter where those people are at in their journey, which they're usually ahead of us, but sometimes they're behind us, and it's like, holy crap, like how is their stuff like 3 times better than mine? But also remember that you're different, and you're on a different trajectory, and you have a different purpose. And the best thing that we can do is just be the best version of ourselves, and try to improve, and try to continue to offer our gift to the world. And that's literally all we can do. We can't do more than that.
Yeah. Yep. Well said. Agreed.
I'm done. Goodbye. Just kidding. Okay. You did say something interesting in our notes that I wanted to talk a little bit about. You said you had a brand designer. You hired a brand designer for your business, and that changed your business for you, or at least your thinking of your business. Talk a little bit about how that was helpful for you.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that has been helpful to my business this past year was hiring the brand designer. Her name's Melody Falone. She's great. She sort of specializes in illustrative design, so I felt like it was really fitting for my business. And so I hired her. I think like as an artist, I have an eye for design in some sense, but I'm not a designer. So, it's like tempting to be like, oh, I can just do it myself. But really that's not like where I'm really gifted. So it was definitely worth it. I see you shaking your head to hire someone for this. So I've loved that. And I also struggle with one of my personal struggles is like decision paralysis. So something I told another business owner recently that I've learned is I think I waited so long to hire a brand designer because, even when I was hiring her, the poor, poor Melody, I like second guessed everything. I was like, oh my gosh, what if I don't want to commit to my name? What if I want to change my business name? I don't know, there's like the look and feel I'm describing to her really what I want. I don't know. So I think that was a barrier for me for a long time. But then I realized as my business is ever evolving, it's okay to make a decision for this point in time. And then if I change it later, who's really going to care? I have the freedom to do that. So that was a really kind of freeing mindset to realize, okay, I'm going to commit to this now. And if I want to change it later, that's fine. But it's not going to hold me back from making decisions, that are going to bring my business and help it move forward in this moment. So that was big. And I also hired a friend of mine who's a social media copywriter. That's been huge as well. So I feel like when I look at my social media for the first time ever, I like how it looks and I'm happy with what I'm putting out. And I'm ahead of schedule with like planning them, and that feels really good. So those were two really good decisions I made this past year.
I love the idea behind hiring a brand designer. I just had a client, a brand new client who I met with like 4 years ago to do a video for them. And they're like, oh, we're kind of going through this brand redesign and we're not ready. And it's hilarious because I'm like, you guys are talking about having a brand film that really is like the soul of who you are. The look and feel of what you guys, might present, how you might present yourself on the web and in other ways, like that will probably change over the course of the years. What won't totally change, at least in the way that you think it might, is like who you are, why you started this business, what you care about, and who you love working with, and how you've helped people. Like that stuff, like, so to do a brand film, like, I mean, you can pump the brakes if you want and wait until you have this branding. It'd be really easy for us to slap on your new logo and your new tagline and tweak the colors of like, the intro and the outro and the lower thirds or whatever. But like the story is the story. Like the brand isn't going to change that. So there's that aspect of it. But knowing that, number one, you're the boss of your own business. And if you decide you want to change, number one, nobody's going to care about it like you do. Yeah. So your clients that love you, adore you, even your clients that like don't, they just like that you give them a good product. They don't care if you change. They might have a preference of like, oh, I like the other name better. I remember when we rebranded and we had our biggest client. They kind of made fun of the new name, and they're like, oh, we definitely like the other. And I for a half second I was like, oh my gosh, did we make a decision or a bad decision? Because I like the other one better too. And I'm like, oh, and I'm like, no, we made this for a good reason, and this is the right direction. But I've been there. But just remember, you're in control, and you're not going to make a decision in branding that's going to like destroy you, because at the end of the day, you are the brand. You should listen to that podcast episode with Mike Kim or read his book called You Are the Brand. You're the brand at the end of the day. And if you're still around, then whatever, you can still show up and say, you guys, I made a huge mistake. I changed the name of our company, and I'm going to change it back because I can. It's fine. It's yours. You own it. Do what you want.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, a lot of times it's about like trying different things, seeing what works, and just learning as you go. So yeah, that's been a really good thing to realize.
I'm curious. I feel like a lot of people are hesitant to invest in a branding expert, that process. I've done it more than twice, but the two big times in my business were total game changers for my brand. What did it do for you, like mentally, to have somebody do that work for you? And then, like, can you like tie any data to like maybe some of the results that you've gotten since this branding experience?
It's hard to say in terms of the results because I did both at the same time. So I hired both. I hired the brand designer and I hired the copywriter, and I started consistently showing up on social media like at that time. So that's like 3 different things, and I'm sure they've all contributed.
Yep.
But I think it's even brought me, even if, like I've seen new clients come in, but also my current clients, I think they're just seeing my posts more and it reminds them. And, I'll get like a reply, oh yeah, I need to do like a bunch more videos for my business, just on one of my promotional posts. So that's been really helpful. I feel like I had something to say and now I've completely forgotten from what you asked me in the beginning.
I'm curious if, you said those 3 things happened at the same time.
Yeah.
But would you be showing up on social with the confidence that you have if you didn't have somebody that was helping you on the branding, and then you also didn't have somebody like helping direct the copywriting? Would that be consistent? And if what I hear you saying is correct, people are noticing and making mention, and you're having conversations.
Yep, I'm getting a lot more interaction, and it's led to jobs. So thank you for the reminder. No, I would not be showing up. Absolutely not. Because for me, I need accountability. So like my copywriter's amazing. But even if she was like mediocre, this sounds bad, but like the accountability alone is so helpful because, like otherwise you're like, well, I'll get to it later. Like who has time for social media? Right. We should, but like a lot of times it gets put on the back burner. But because I need to hand my stuff into her a month in advance, so she has a month in advance to prep, now I'm 2 months ahead of schedule, and that feels really good. And for the brand designer, basically I think what it's done, is just given me just a look that's more professional and consistent, because that's what you get. You get, now you're using the same fonts everywhere you show up. You're using this color palette so people can recognize your brand easily. And so I'm able to basically take what she gave me, and I created maybe like 3 or 4 templates that are really simple in Photoshop because, have the Adobe software background. So I can take those and basically just set them up with the fonts she gave me and the colors, and I just reuse them on social media. So the answer is no, I would not be showing up. I wouldn't look good on social media, and I wouldn't be posting regularly. So it's been a game changer.
Yeah. The confidence thing is really hard to put a price tag on. I remember when we first branded our business. I say it was just me. I first branded it with this professional branding guy I went to church with, and he's like, hey, could I help you? And I'm like, yeah, I'll take whatever help. What do you got? I don't even know what branding does. Is it a logo? And he's like, it's a lot more than that. And through these series of questions, and I was like, wow, I haven't thought about my business like this, and I haven't thought about my business in colors. I don't even know what that means. And so all these questions, and then he presents all of this stuff to me like a few weeks later, graphic, logos and colors and just looks and feels, and then copy that explains, was well articulated what I was like throwing up out of my mouth about what I do and what I care about. He puts in this eloquent, and my ability, like I feel like we tripled our pricing after we did this branding, because I was like, I could literally sell anything. Like if somebody sees my website now with this cool branding, this messaging that's really clear and concise, like I can talk to people in different ways, and it leveled up our business. So it's hard to say like, oh, well, because we had a new logo that led to $10,000, wedding film or something like that. But the confidence that I achieved, and then also if a client calls me and they feel like I'm confident in our process and about our brand, then that's going to instill confidence in them, and it's going to build trust and make it way easier for them to hire somebody who they think believes in what they're doing and, seemingly has their stuff together.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, it's sort of like what we pitch to our clients. I know it's different, but like, why invest in quality video? Well, like all the things it's going to do for you. You're going to look so much more professional. People are going to see you're investing in your own business. And it's like the same in this way for us. Like, do we want to look professional? Do we want people to see we're investing in our own business? So that's something to consider too. It's like, it's sort of the reverse of like what we're pitching to people on the video side.
Totally. Yep. Yeah. So if you're not investing in branding or you're not investing in your own video, if you're not doing that, if you're not then how are you going to instill that into clients? Like, oh, trust me, you want to do this. It's going to be good for you. It's like, oh, where are you doing that in any of your branding? Like, I'm not seeing it. I'm curious to know, you'd mentioned also in the the form that you filled out before we did this, you have an artist friend who you said is killing it, crushing it. Yes. What has that done for you?
She deserves a shout out. That's my friend Alyssa. Her company is Alyssa Joy & Co. She specializes in product photography, but she also does like brand design and but I felt like we were probably too close of friends for her to do my brand design. But she,
yes,
in case you're wondering,
that's the thing.
She's fantastic though, and I think she's one of the first people I met in that networking group I referenced earlier on, and we just kind of hit it off really quick. Just our personalities work really well together, and it's been huge in terms of mindset to see. So she started her business well before mine, and just to see like what she's done with it, the clients she's booking, her success has been huge. Like, for me to see that and see that that's possible, I think I would have had, I don't want to sound typical. I know like a lot of people talk about limiting mindset and beliefs, but I definitely have some of that. So I know that if I didn't see like my friend doing it, I wouldn't be where I am like now with booking clients. Like, so that's just been huge to see like, okay, people are paying what you're worth, what they're investing a good amount into her business, and they will do it for mine as well. So yeah, just seeing someone else succeeding and having someone well, that's kind of like going where you want to go is a really, really big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. That is the power of the mastermind. My wife is an artist, and for the longest time, I try to encourage her and just say like, your stuff, she's like the typical artist, like nobody likes my work, nobody pays me, but she's sold pieces for like thousands of dollars. Wow. And she's only been doing like art. She wouldn't even consider herself like professional. Like, there are professional artists that have never sold a painting for $1,000. And I'm like, babe, you're crushing it. And you're momming super hard too. So you got all of that going on. But she just joined this coaching group with a few other artists that are very similar to where she's at. But she's hearing these stories of these other women that are doing this thing, and so she's got this whole new belief set. Like, oh, well, my stuff is actually, it's like kind of better than hers, but she's charging this much. So if she can charge that much, then I can. And she doesn't. She's got way more followers than I do, and I don't. But like, oh my goodness. So it's pretty. It's just hilarious when you step back and look at all of us, how we believe about ourselves and the limiting beliefs that we have, and all it takes sometimes is just somebody else alongside of us that is winning or that wins, and you're like, okay, so I guess it is possible. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's been good. A big deal. So it's been interesting to see that play out.
Yeah, I love that. And that's why I host a mastermind group. So if you're listening and you're like, you know what? I do need to surround myself with other people that are winning. Definitely not perfect, trying to figure it out. Check out the Studio Sherpas Mastermind. There's a subtle
Little plug.
I'm going to do, a little plug for it. Caitlin, this has been super fun. I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to do this. I love your story. Really, I appreciate your honesty, not being afraid to share some of the areas that you're struggling in or that you've struggled with. Thank you for just being open like that. I think that's a gift. It's a gift to me. It's definitely a gift to our community. But what's hilarious is I think every part of your story where you're like, yeah, I had this limiting belief, or there was this, I'm like, yeah, no, I've been in that same exact spot. So that like cheesy, you're not alone in this. It's so true. Like everything that, like, there's not one thing that you talked about when you're doing your branding and like all of those things. I'm like, yeah, no, I've been there. In some cases, I am there. So anybody, and I'm just going to say this to you while Caitlin's here. Caitlin, before we start recording, she's like, I'm a little bit nervous, because, I've listened to your show and like, there's, you've got these guests, and I'm like, yeah, but here's what's great is there are so many more people like you and I that need to hear stories from people like you and I, so that we can say like, oh, if Caitlin could do it, I could do it. Or man, if my goodness, if Ryan could do it, like I can definitely do it. Right. So anyway, just really, really appreciate your story. Excited for your success. Where can people follow along with your new cool branding and social media, and where can they find you online or anywhere else?
So my name, you probably don't know how to spell it, but Caitlin Wall Photo, CAITLIN WALL. That's my handle on Instagram, and my website is just my name as well, so CaitlinWall.com. And I'd love to connect. I love to connect with other just people in the industry too, so I'm always hopping on video calls just to chat, even if you're in a different state. So I'd love to chat, get to know more people.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you so much, Caitlin. Glad you're part of the community. Really grateful for our time today. And
yes,
thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ryan. I really appreciate it. I'm honored to be invited. So.
All right, friend, if you enjoyed this episode and you want access to the show notes, the links, different things that we talk about, go to studiosherpas.com/328. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube and you have a takeaway, something you're like, man, that was an epiphany. Here's something I'm going to do because of what I've learned in this episode. If you want to encourage me, if you want to curse me out, leave a comment and let me know your thoughts. You could always email me at ryan@studiosherpas.com as well. And don't forget, if you want to make more money and keep more of the money that you make, if you want to be more profitable, do not miss the Profit Accelerator live workshop that I'm hosting soon. Go get all of the information at studiosherpas.com/profit. And that's it, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. This is such a joy that I get to do this work, and I'm glad you're here with me. See you on next week's episode. I'll see you inside the Profit Accelerator coming up soon. And until then, talk to you. Good luck. Go get 'em, Tiger. Goodbye for now.